Yeah, and looking at the standings, so you have Atalanta's in fifth, 18 points, so still just 7 points behind Milan and Napoli. It seems like they didn't get off to the start maybe as in past seasons where they come out flying, scoring all kinds of goals.
Mm-hmm.
I find maybe the past couple of days, past couple of games, they're scoring 3 goals a game. I know they did that against Empoli. They did that today against Samp. But they did lose against Fiorentina. They tied Inter. They lost against Milan. So those are the dropped points that you said you don't mind losing.
Mm-hmm.
At least the Inter and the Milan, Fiorentina. Of course, that's something you would want to win. But are you satisfied with the start to the season right now?
I think if you'd asked me at the beginning of the season when we were looking like we had gotten a pretty good mercato, made our team a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have been satisfied being in fifth, 10 points actually behind Milan right now, and probably 10 points behind Napoli tomorrow, I probably wouldn't have been stoked. But given the fact that we're going against Lazio, we'll be missing 4 center backs. We haven't had Hans Hateboer all year. Robin Gosens is out. Matteo Pessina is out. Man, I can't be anything but pleased with this result. Also knowing that in the past couple of seasons, we come out like gangbusters, but we normally have a huge dip in form around the Champions League time. And then in the second half of the season, we come out like gangbusters. The past couple of seasons, I think 2 out of the last 3 years, we've had the most points after the winter break. So I think that you're probably going to see that again this year. And I said it on my pod at the beginning of the season. If Atalanta is 6 points behind whoever's leading the table, whether it's Milan or Napoli or Inter, whoever that's going to be, at the winter break, watch out. We got a shot because, especially right now, if we get Gosens back, Pessina back, if Hateboer comes back, Toloi, all those guys start coming back, all of a sudden, our fringe guys have gotten a lot of play. Depending on how we do in the Champions League, which I can't complain about because we won the game that we're supposed to win. We drew away at Villarreal, and then we barely lost to Man United with 5 starters out. So I can't really complain. I still think this is all right. It's not the high flying scoring in the beginning that people are used to. So whenever anybody sees Atalanta and they're not scoring 2.5 to 3.5 goals per game, everybody starts freaking out. But look at that defense. Bringing Juan Musso in from Udinese has paid huge dividends. We'll see what happens now with against Lazio this coming weekend because we have 4 starting center backs potentially out. So that'll be a real test. Probably why that game against Sampdoria today was so exciting because it's like the Atalanta of old,
There you go. So I guess we'll segue right into, before we again go dive into, other things, Atalanta. I guess, we'll talk about, obviously midweek madness that we like to call it, in terms of the SerieA, having these midweek games. Today, obviously, Samp Atalanta going down early to our boy Ciccio Caputo with the opener there for Sampdoria. But again, one I think was an own goal, right, and 2 goals. To cap it off there with Zapata, Mr. Goal Scorer, right? And chapeau again to him, over 100 goals in SerieA, right? For Atalanta, that's huge for the Colombian international. And then typical Ilicic at the end there with his strike, right? It's again talking about trademark Malinovsky, trademark Ilicic on the left foot. It just again trademark after trademark with these Atalanta players, but. Turn the page, obviously, from the tough pill to swallow, 4:30 in the morning for you against Udinese. What did you make about the game today, Dan? In terms again, this team's a bit of a resilience, I guess you can say, and just their overall play against the Sampdoria.
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain with the 3 points. It was a little bit of a crazy game. It was messy. It was wild.
Yeah.
Because Palomino got a yellow card in the first half, kind of a soft yellow card. So he's out against Lazio, and there was a shout that maybe he got a little bit of a knock as well. But we had our 17-year-old Primavera player, Giorgio Scalvini, playing at center back, Matteo Lovato playing in the middle, and Martin de Roon on the right. So it was, it's good to show a little bit of character to fight back. And we actually held pretty decently. We were giving up some chances, but not too much to what can be a potent Sampdoria attack at times. You know, as soon as Quagliarella comes in, you always think that he's going to do an overhead kick from 30 meters or something like that to tie it up.
Back heel, goalie tackle, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had to tell you, man, I'm watching this game and I had a completely different feeling than I did with Udinese. I felt like us dropping points against Udinese was inevitable, but for some reason this game it didn't feel like that was going to happen. And then, of course, in the 93rd, 94th minute, Ilicic puts it away. But just like against Udinese, just like against Man United, and just like today against Sampdoria, we missed a couple of chances to put it away early, and I think that's probably the hardest thing right now. You know, once our offense starts clicking on all cylinders, you know, we're putting away those chances they're creating, because, you know, we definitely dominated possession, especially in the first half, and we're doing some great things. But, you know, I'll definitely take the 3 points, and it's good to come from behind. If we're going to go behind, it's almost best for us to go behind early, and then we can just kind of turn the screw and do what we need to. But fair credit to Sampdoria. They made it interesting. De Versa definitely doesn't know how to beat Atalanta. That's for sure. He's never done that. He definitely had a game plan to go over the top. That's what he did. They were kicking it over the top, and it worked in that 10th minute goal that Chicho had. But other than that, I thought, you know, it was pretty good considering what we had, you know, as far as the lineup that we had on the field. So can't complain about that.
Yeah. And you keep mentioning, you know, the Man U game. Let's talk about Champions League, because they return next week. So the Man U game was last week. What was it? They blew a 2-0 lead in that game.
Yeah.
So 3-2. Ronaldo comes back to haunt them.
Again, Dan, we're putting our hands up. We had some criticism for them on that episode, right? So yeah, you know, I think, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a lot too. So
yeah, just to put it out in the atmosphere, just to put it out there.
But, you know, even with that, look, they play Man U again next week. Man U is in a bit crisis mode right now. They lose 5-0 to Liverpool on the weekend. They played Tottenham this weekend. You know, this might be a perfect opportunity for Atalanta, especially if Man U loses to Tottenham on they play this weekend, especially if you know, they're all over the place. God knows what's happening with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. God knows what's happening there. Like, I mean, what are you going to look forward to in that game? And even just looking at the standings, you know, Atalanta 4 points, Villarreal 4 points, Young Boys 3 points, and then Man U 6 points. So it's wide open still. And Atalanta, we know in the Champions League, they leave it right into the last match day. So we know it's going to be dramatic in these 3 games. What do you make of their Champions League campaign and what's left of it?
Look, I mean, we're still Atalanta and they're still Man United. Like, you know, when we're up 2-0.
Yeah, the levels.
Yeah, we bring in like Moranchuk off the bench, you know, and they're bringing in Jadon Sancho and Paul Pogba. So like, let's be realistic. And we also had 5 starters out against United. The fact that we were up 2-0 was special. Losing 3-2 to Man United at Old Trafford with 5 starters as Atalanta it sucks to lose like that, because that even getting a point would have totally changed the complexion of it.
Yeah.
But especially if your starters are your center backs that are out, that's really, really tough. I don't know what we're gonna get when we play against United next week. I hope that we get a positive result. But it really depends on who's back. Is Demiral going to be back? Is Toloi going to be back? Because, I mean, Mary Demiral, he pulled his hammy really early, scores a goal, tweaks it again celebrating, and then puts in that tackle against Marcus Rashford, of all things. And what Man United has is pace and to get behind the Atalanta defense. So, I don't know, man. I want to be optimistic, but I also want to be a little bit realistic about it. The must wins are against Villarreal at home and of course away to Young Boys. With those 2 victories, and if something else good happens, and if Man United beats the other 2 teams, we'll be in second and we'll go into the next round. So for me, what's important with Atalanta in this period, especially where we're riding through some injuries to some of our key players, is not necessarily the results, but how we get the results. The way that we lost to Man United really, really sucked. If we'd have just lost 3-2 under normal conditions, nobody probably would have been like, okay, well, I mean, it's, Atalanta's missing 5 starters and it's Manchester United away. But it's the way that we play and the way that we lose. The big key for me is Josip Ilicic right now, because, when he was on a hat trick against Empoli and he missed that penalty, we know about Josip Ilicic and his psychological, potentials. I'm so glad that he scored today, because we need the Josip Ilicic who's controlling the game. He's almost unstoppable when he's on form, right? I don't care who he's up against. So Josip Ilicic is going to be key. Muriel got a full game's rest. And we'll see what happens against Lazio, because how things shake out against Lazio, I think, will affect us midweek against United. So I'm hoping for a draw to get a point out of that. If anything, just to keep United closer to us than anything else. But I would not be surprised if we did lose, but it's going to be how we play and how we lose if we don't get a win. That will be important, I think, to me and most Atalantini anyway.